Hey everybody, and welcome back to another lecture with Coding with Arobi. And in this lecture, we're going to go over the assignment for our full stack application. Well, our assignment is to enhance our application so a user can now change their password. Well, to be able to do this, we need to create a new template, which is some kind of UI UX for the user to be able to change their password. Create a new route that we're going to be calling users.py. And then add the ability to verify the current password before you change the password. And that's a pretty common rule to follow when dealing with password changes on applications, is a user must verify either their username and password or just their password before supplying the new password. And in this case, we're going to say username and password of the original password and then our new password to verify that they are the user so we can properly change the password. Well, to get started, the very first thing we should do is let's go ahead and create a new template. And this new template is going to be in our templates directory. And I'm going to call this template file edit-user-password.html. All right, and I'm just going to make this title say password, and then we're just going to stop this for now until we create the route to get here. All right, and now I saved this file. So now let's go to our routers and create a new route called users.py. And now inside users.py, we need to do a couple imports just to start it all off. So in the beginning, we're just going to type in all the imports so we don't have to worry about imports anymore for this assignment. Now to start, we're going to say import sys, also known as SYS for system. And then sys.path.append, 2 dots. And then we're going to say from Starlight, import status. From Starlight.responses, import redirect response. And then we can say from FastAPI, import depends, API router, request, and form. Import models. And then we can say from database, import engine, session local. And then from SQLAlchemy.orm, import session. From Pydantic, import base model. And then from .auth, import get current user, verify password, and get password hash. And then of course we need our from FastAPI.responses, import our HTML response. And then from FastAPI.templating, import Jinja2 templates. And then right under this, we're going to say router equals API router. And then within the parentheses, we want to say prefix is equal to /users. Tags is going to be a list, just users inside. And then our responses is going to be a 404 with brackets of description not found. And then we just need to do our normal routing due diligence of creating some of the main scripts. So we can say models.base.metadata.create all bind engine. And then templates equals Jinja2 templates, where as the parameter, we're going to say directory equals templates. And then we need to create a DB instance. So we can say def get DB, try DB equals session local. And then yield DB. And finally, db.close. Then we need to create a Pydantic object of class user verification, where we're going to be passing in our base model. With a username that is of type string, a password that is of type string, and a new password that is of type string. And here we're creating the form that the user is going to be submitting, where they need a username, a password, and a new password. And original password is going to be the password. All right, and now let's create our first route, which will actually open up our edit user password.html file. We need our new route to say @router.get/edit password as the path, with our response class equal to HTML response. Then we want to create the function of async def edit user view, and we're going to pass in request of type request. And we want to do our verification for our user. So user equals await get current user, and we're going to pass in the request. If user is none, return redirect response of URL equals /auth with a status code of status.http 302 found. And if the user is not null, we can just return templates.template response, where we're going to pass in edit user password.html. Where through our context, we're going to say request is going to be of type request or equal to request, and user is going to be of type user and or equal to user. All right, now let's save the file and type in uvicorn main:app --reload. Let's open up our browser and refresh the page. We can go to our auth file. Let's type in our username and password. All right, and we actually need to set up our router and do a few other things that I totally forgot about. So let's go to our main.py file. And inside our main.py file, we need to import our users. And then at the bottom where we say app.include_router of auth.router and of todos.router, we need to say app.include_router of users.router. All right, let's save that. And now let's go to our navbar.html real quick. And inside our navbar.html, let's scroll down till we can see logout. And right above logout, we're going to write one more list script above it. We're going to make a new tag of li with a class that is equal to nav item m-1. And then we're going to say an anchor tag of a tag type equals button. Class equals button, button outline light. With an href that is equal to users/edit password. And we're going to call this edit password or edit user. All right, now let's type in unicorn main :app -- reload. Okay, if we just look at this line, we can say that I forgot an equal sign. I put a minus sign here. So if we go back to my users.py file, which you probably caught, we can just change this to equal. And let's restart the server. Okay. Let's open up our application, refresh the page, and now we can see we have a edit user button in the nav bar. When we click that, it's going to bring us to our edit user password, where our title is password. So this is working. We just don't have any code yet in this. So if we go back to our application and close out, we can then go to our edit user password.html. And here we're going to add some more code. We can start by just deleting everything. And the first thing we want to do is add in 2 brackets and 2 % signs and say include layout.html. And then we want to create a div of class container, a div of class card, and then another div of class card header. And inside the class card header, we're going to say, let's edit your password. And then outside the card header, we're going to create another div of class card body. And at the very top of the card body is where I want to type in our messages, where it's going to say, hey, your password is updated successfully, or your password was not updated successfully due to a multiple of different errors. So let's start by saying div class card body. And then inside here, we want to say bracket bracket 2 % signs if message. So if message is true, then we want to say bracket bracket 2 % signs if message is equal to password updated. Then we want to create a new div with a class that is equal to alert success with a role of alert. And inside this div, we want to just print our message by doing 2 brackets message. Then under this div, we want to say bracket bracket 2 % signs of else, where we're going to say another div of class alert danger with the role equal to alert, where we're also just going to pass in the message. And then outside of the div, we want to say end if, both with 2 brackets and 2%. We then want to create a form where we know our method is going to be equal to post, but we're not sure what the action is going to be at this time. So we can just put a £. Div class equals form row. Another div inside this div called class form group, column medium 6 with a label equal to username. And an input underneath of type text with a class of form control, name, username, and this field is required. We then want to say another div of class form group. With the label of verify original password. With an input of type password, class that is equal to form control, name is equal to password and is also required. We then want to say div class equals form group. Label new password. And then input of type password, class is equal to form control with the name equal to password2 that is required. And then right before the end of the form tag, we want to add in a button where we can say type is equal to submit. So it's going to submit the form with a class of button primary with the button saying edit. All right, now let's save this and rerun our server. Let's go back to our application, refresh the page, and there we have it. Let's edit your password with username, verify original password, and new password. So this is awesome stuff. Let's go back to our application and go to our users.py file, where now we need to create a new route that is going to take in the username, password, and new password, verify the user is signed in and that the user is typing in their correct username and password. And if not, we need to display the correct message. So to do this, we can start by saying @router.post, and we're going to call this /edit-password. with a response class of HTML response. And then we're going to say async def user password change, where we're going to pass in a few parameters. Our first one's going to be request of type request. Then we want username of type string equals form with 3 dots. Password of type string equals form with 3 dots. And password 2 of type string equals form with 3 dots. And then we want to pass in our db of type session equals depends get db. After this, let's type in user equals await get current user, and we're going to pass in the request. Then let's say if user is none, return redirect response of URL is equal to /auth with our status code equal to status.http 302 found. And then we can say user data equals db.query models.users.filter. Models.users.username is equal to username.first. And here we want to create the variable of message, which is going to be equal to invalid username or password. Then we want to say if user data is not none, if username is equal to userdata.username, and verify password, and we pass in password and our user data.hash password returns true. Then user data.hash password is equal to get password hash password 2. We then want to say db.add user data, db.commit, and then we want to override our message with password updated, and then return templates.template response, where we're going to pass in edit user password.html. And as the context, we're going to pass in request of type request, user, which is of type user and equal to user, and message, which is equal to message. All right, and now let's go back up to our edit user password.html, where we can now say in our form, our action is going to be /users/edit password. All right, I'm just going to say save all. Reopen up our terminal, refresh the page. And I'm going to type in coding with Roby, and I'm going to butcher our original password So I'm going to make it incorrect and then pass in a new password just to see what pops up. All right, and when I click edit, we get details method not allowed. Okay, and the reason I brought us to a new page was most likely due to this should be a slash. And when we're looking at our edit user password.html, okay, let's try it now and refresh our application. Okay, so that looks good. Let's start all over and say log out. Let's type in coding with Roby with password test1234 exclamation mark. Go to edit user, and again, I'm going to butcher the password. And we can see that the form was submitted and we get invalid username or password. All right, now let's butcher the username. And click edit. Again, we're getting invalid username or password. And now this time I'm going to pass in our valid username with a valid password, and then I'm going to type in a new password. And there we have it, password updated. However, this is still a red box instead of a green box. So we're going to want to go back and see where we made this coding mistake. Let's close this and go to our edit user password, scroll up, and here we can see we said if meg equals password update. We need this to say if message. Save that. Let's go back. If I refresh the page, that'll probably just change green. And there we have it. So let's go through it one more time. I'm going to type in the fake password and then a new password. Invalid, and now all real. And then boom, password updated. And now if we go back to our application and log out, it's going to want the new password. And it worked, the new password. So there we have it. So this was a huge assignment. We created a new template where a user can now go to edit user in the nav bar where they get a completely new template. We created the template, and then we created an entirely new routing file, which is going to handle all of the users. And for right now, it can only change the password, but there's not really too much else we'd want to do. Maybe a user can delete themselves or something like that, but you can enhance the application however you like. But right now we have a full-fledged application where users can change their password and a whole bunch of fun stuff. So this wraps up this assignment on how we can change a user's password, and I will see you in the next video.